There is a very specific training split or workout program out there which is going to be the most optimal for you as an individual to maximize muscle gain, to maximize obviously fat loss as well. And today we're going to unpack that using my opinions and my experience as an individual, which you can take for whatever you want. Now, who am I? Why should you listen to me? My name's James Board. I run, or I'm a co-founder of Built Body Transformations, which is a men's fat loss and muscle building coaching company. We've helped over 1,000 guys achieve some pretty crazy results. I'll put some guys on the screen here in very short periods of time. I think that's kind of like our bread and butter, is we achieve pretty drastic results in very reduced time frames for guys mostly that have been training for a period of time, whether it be 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We sculpt it around their lifestyles and we make it fit so it feels easy, it's enjoyable, it's effective, so that not only we achieve the result but we can maintain it long term. Now, in terms of finding the optimal training split, we need to first take it back to why we actually build muscle, because understanding this is going to allow you to understand why we would go down a certain approach with your training. So we build muscle in an adaptive response to keep us safe. If we go all the way back to caveman times or times before the gym, because understand that your body doesn't build muscle so you look good at the beach, it builds muscle to keep you safe. So let's say you were out in the wild and a tree fell on top of you and you pushed that tree off you, your body would repair itself in a way so that next time that tree fell on top of you, you can remove it, push it off you, maybe a little bit more as well. So that's progressive overload, okay? So this is, you've put something on you that you've never had on you before, you've pushed it off, your body's built in a way to repair itself so to keep you safe. And now next time that tree falls on top of you, you'll be able to push it off a little bit easier, okay? So that's why we build muscle, is to keep us safe in that regard. So with that in mind, if we went out into the wild next week and the same tree fell on top of us and we pushed it off for the same amount of reps, so why would we build more muscle? We would not. We've developed in a way where we can now handle that tree, okay? Using the tree just as an analogy here. So if we take that into the gym scenario, if we continue to do the same weight for the same reps in the same form and we don't change anything every single week, why on earth would we expect our body to keep evolving, to keep developing? We're not providing a new stimulus or something we've never felt before. So why would our body respond in a way which is different to what it's responded before? It wouldn't. So with this in mind, we know that when we're going into the gym, we're trying to do something that we've never done before. So if that tree fell on top of you, and say it's grown an extra branch now, it's a little bit heavier, that's novel, it's something we've never done. So with that in mind, every time we go into the gym, we just want to be creating some form of novel stimulus, doing something that we've not done before in order to create an adaptive response in our body to grow and to build some muscle. So from this, we're now going to break it down into the training age that an individual is at, so you as an individual, and running over the optimal training split for each phase. Now, I will say there's going to be some caveats to this, and we'll get to that at some point, so stick with me. But let's say we take a complete beginner that goes into the gym, and now this beginner has never trained before and they want to do a bro split, which is where they train a different body part every single day. Chest one day, back the next, shoulders the next, arms the next. What we have to ask is, do you need, if you're a complete beginner, a hold down your chest in order to cause enough stimulus for that muscle group to grow? The answer is probably no. So this individual is falling under the first tree, the tree that hasn't got all these extra branches stuck all out from it. So with that in mind, they don't need a whole chest day, in my opinion, in order to create enough stimulus to grow. Now, if they went in and they did 2 sets on their chest, but they are very good sets on their chest, and every single week they progress, every single session they progress that's going to be more than enough for them to see enough stimulus on their chest to grow. Because remember, they've never done anything for their chest before. They've gone from doing completely nothing to something. Now that something is going to be novel. That first session they go in, even if they do 2 sets but they perform it well, they're going to cause enough stimulus to grow. Now, let's say they did have a hold down on their chest and they ended up doing 25 sets on their chest. Will the 25 sets be more impactful than the 2 sets in terms of creating that novel stimulus? Arguably no. So for that reason, I would say that the back end of that session is just going to be creating unnecessary muscle damage, a greater demand for recovery, and meaning that we now have to take a longer rest time between that session and the next time that they can train their chest, or you can train your chest. So it's pointless. We can train your chest maybe 52 times a year, so once per week if we do that bro split model. Now let's say we do the complete opposite. And this is the recommendation that I would make if you're a complete beginner. And we pull it all the way back into a full body split. Now the reason we would do this is because we can create enough stimulus at this person's point in their journey to create an adaptive response to grow. So let's say they do 2 sets on their chest, 2 sets on their shoulders, 2 on the biceps, 2 on the tris, 2 on the quads, 2 on the hamstrings. It's be like a full body workout. Very small amount of volume per muscle group, but we can hit it with more frequency. So let's say we now hit this full body split on a Monday, we rest on a Tuesday, full body on a Wednesday, we rest on a Thursday, full body on a Friday, and so on. So we can hit this split every other day. So we're now training everything 3 to 4 times per week. So we've gone from training your chest, I'm using your chest as just an example, but you're now training your chest once per week to training it 3 to 4 times per week, which is going from once per 52 times per year to now up to, realistically, 200 plus times per year. So 150 to 200 times per year, we're now hitting the chest. In each session, we're providing enough stimulus to grow, but not so much stimulus that we're not able to recover on our day off the next day, so we can come back in and hit another 2 sets on your chest in a way which is going to cause an adaptive response to growth. So we've recovered that little bit. So going back to the tree analogy, we've been able to rebuild that muscle in a way that it can now handle what you did and a little bit more. So you've recovered from that session, we've now gone back in the next day, created another novel stimulus, and we're going to grow. Now, obviously, throughout these sessions, we need to be tracking lifts and progressing. So that's the whole idea here, is that you're progressing every single week. And so long as you're progressing and keeping everything the exact same, and that's another thing that I'm going to kind of go back to, is like keeping things the same with the training is important because it gives us a reference point for when we go into the gym. If you're chopping and changing your workouts every single week, you have no reference point for if you're progressing. If we keep everything the same in terms of the exercises, exercise orders, sets, rep ranges, etc., and every week, every session, we just aim to add a small bit of weight or a rep, it gives us a very good idea of if we're progressing. Now we can probably run this split as a beginner for a very long period of time. It's going to fast track your results, in my opinion, if you were to run this split. But at some point in time, you will need a little bit more stimulus on each body part to grow, which is when we might switch to, say, an upper lower split. So now we've gone from a full body session, where we're hitting our whole body in one session, and we're now splitting it across an upper day and a lower day. So you're getting twice the volume for your upper, twice the volume for your lower than we were in the first session, but we're going to have to sacrifice some frequency for that. So rather than training full body rest, full body rest, full body rest, we might now go upper, lower rest, upper, lower rest. So a little bit of frequency sacrifice. So now we're training things 2 to 3 times per week. So 100 to 150 times per year as opposed to 150 to 200 times per year. Makes quite a big difference. But we're now able to theoretically double the volume that we're putting in each session. So maybe now we're doing 2 exercises on the chest rather than 1. 2 exercises on the shoulders rather than 1. 2 exercises on the back rather than 1. And from this, we're able to create that little bit more stimulus in order to grow, the sacrifice and obviously frequency. And now we can run this program for a long period of time until we reach a point where we need a little bit more stimulus once again in order to grow. And you might be years into your training at this point. Once again, there's a caveat to this, which I'll explain when we get further. So we might then move to, say, a push-pull leg split when we hit a point where we need a little bit more stimulus from that upper-lower split in order to grow. The push-pull leg split, now splitting up your upper body day into a push day and a pull day, push being chest, shoulders, triceps, pull being back, rear delts and biceps. So now obviously we can maybe hit things twice per week. So we've gone from training 200 times per year, so now we're training 100 times per year, but a lot more volume per session. We might go push, pull, legs, rest, push, pull, legs, rest. Okay, so that's now we've sacrificed frequency, more volume per session, and we're going to run that split for a very long period of time until we hit a point where maybe we need that extra little bit of stimulus for certain body groups, body parts, and this is where we would potentially go to a bro split, or more specifically go into a more tailored specific split based on the individual. So maybe like for myself, for example, I ran this push-pull legs to a point where things grew, my legs were stand out, and then my upper body was a little bit smaller, particularly my shoulders and arms, so I then had a shoulder and an arm day, and I was able to bring things up. Now some people make the argument that you don't deserve to have a shoulder and arm day until you've earned it, which is where I was at, and the belief that I used to have, which I now completely disagree with, because if you want to come in and you want to do a bro split and you want to hold down your arms, then no one should be able to tell you that you're not able to do that. You can do whatever the hell you want. And the caveat to what I just kind of broke down is there's optimal and then there's less optimal, and in somewhere in the middle of all of that, there's going to be what you actually enjoy. And I think this is the most important part to training. Because to take a real far back step, and from all the years of coaching, I will say the biggest thing in terms of getting your results isn't going to be what you do inside the gym, provided you're training hard. It's going to be the nutritional side of things. And this is where I think most people need to place the majority of their focus, is making sure they understand nutrition and how to hit a certain calorie and macro breakdown. Okay, which means obviously if you're in a fat loss phase, eating in a calorie deficit, hitting a sufficient amount of protein. If you're in a building phase, eating in a calorie surplus, once again eating a sufficient amount of protein, and understanding how to manipulate that, which I'll run through in other videos, but that's the most important thing. Most people think there's an issue with their training, when in reality, it's the nutrition. And this is why most people bounce between loads of different training programs thinking it's going to be the answer when they're missing this big key over here. And don't get me wrong, like, eating healthy and eating clean is important, but this is a trap most people fall into because they think if they're eating the right foods, the chicken, the rice, the protein shakes, the gym foods, they're having a protein shake after work, whatever it may be, they have their eggs for breakfast, they think that's going to allow them to achieve the result that they're chasing, when in reality it means nothing. You could eat pizzas and ice cream and chocolate but hit a certain calorie and macro breakdown and get much better results than the individual eating the right foods and not hitting specific calorie and macro goals. So that's where I would put the focus, is nailing the nutrition. I've not got many great videos on this yet. I did do a video recently where I broke things down, so the truth about building muscle and dropping body fat. Head over to my page and watch that one. There's the one before this. I might pop on the screen if I work out how. And from that should be the main focus. But with the training, it's about finding something, in my opinion, that yes is optimal or as close to optimal as possible, but you also enjoy and also fits your life. Because if you're an individual that, one, hates full body training, and maybe you don't care about training your legs, and like, who am I to tell you that you need to be training a full body split and that you should be training your legs? We also found that putting people through a full body split for our program, most people didn't enjoy it and they couldn't stick to it. So for that reason, most people that come to the program will opt for maybe a push-pull legs program, because it's going to fit their lifestyle regardless of, well, because it's going to feel most likely more enjoyable to the individual and maybe fit their lifestyle a little bit more. But it's about finding something that you enjoy, fits your lifestyle, etc. And that's genuinely my opinion of what's going to be the most impactful, because even if something is super optimal, like, you should be in it for the long run. And if you can't do it for the long run and you're just going to do it for a year or 6 months to try and get a result, then it's not going to stick long term. So the biggest thing in terms of finding a program that is optimal for you is finding one that you feel like you can do for a very long period of time. And that goes with the training and the nutrition. And I've gone through phases where I've gone down the optimal routes for my training, and I've tracked and I've logged absolutely everything, which, like, I still advise to do. And I think you learn a lot from doing that. But right now I don't track my lifts. And I've gone through phases with my food where I've eaten chicken and rice every single fucking meal, and I followed a strict meal plan and didn't stray from it. And I've gone through phases where I eat pizza for dinner every single night. I'm in that phase right now. I do have pizza for dinner pretty much every single night, but I track it and everything's consistent. So I hit a calorie and macro breakdown, and it allows me to stay in shape while eating the foods that I want to eat. And that's such a big skill that I think a lot of people need to kind of go for. The other caveat to the training splits that I kind of just broke down is someone's actual ability to create a novel stimulus. And that is going to be, like, let's say if you do only have 2 sets on your chest, you could make the argument that, are you going to be able to perform those 2 sets on your chest in that full body day to a good level if you're new to the gym? Arguably no, because we don't know what we're doing. So maybe having a little bit more volume is going to allow you to actually get good at the movement patterns. So there's a lot that comes into this. Regardless, I'm going to drop just a generic workout program down below. It will be a great workout program. It might be something along the lines of a bro split and goes completely against what I've said today. But understand, if you follow the program and you track it, you will get great results, provided you're eating correctly. So I'll drop that below. I'll have some video tutorials for every single exercise. You just have to, it's a free download, you haven't got to pay for it. And that can be my little gift for you. And I'm also going to drop a calorie and macro calculator below. So that if you click on that one, you're able to calculate the calories and macros that you should be eating and start tracking your food, because this is going to be the biggest needle mover in terms of you getting results. So if you take anything away from this video, take away that the training side of things, provided you're training hard and you're progressing as best you can on a week by week basis, the nutrition is going to be the biggest thing. So nail your nutrition and train in a way that you enjoy, and train your fucking ass off. But the nutrition's going to be the biggest needle mover. So that's the take home from today's video. But hopefully you enjoyed it, guys. As I said in the last video, I'm keeping these super raw. Like, I'm not going to be chopping and editing these crazy hard, because it creates friction in me making these videos. And if I get good feedback from these videos, then I will make some more, and maybe I'll make them a little bit more fancy and higher production. But for now, we're going to keep it raw and kind of like this. But hopefully you enjoyed it, guys. If you did enjoy this video, sharing with a friend will probably be the most valuable, if you think someone else will find it more valuable as well. So see you guys in the next video if I make some more.